Hello, and welcome to Back Through the Lens, where two film school friends talk about movies through the haze of nostalgia. The good, the bad, and the ones that aren't quite how we remember them. I'm your host, Rachel, and with me is my co-host, Joe. Today's movie is The Goonies.
It's early June 1985. Tears for Fears are still top of the charts with the single Everybody Wants to Rule the World and the album Songs from the Big Chair. Roger Waters announced he was leaving Pink Floyd. On television, the Jeffersons had an abrupt cancellation and aired their final episode, and in theaters, Rambo: First Blood Part 2 was dominant. In this season, we celebrate films that turned 40 in 2025, the same year we also hit that milestone.
So, for this season, we not only have two Richard Donner films, we put two Richard Donner films back to back without realizing it.
In my defense, at least, I was just going chronologically on the release dates, so I had no idea. Also, I don't know if I knew who Richard Donner was before looking him up, even though I've seen plenty of his films, apparently.
Yeah, same. I had a similar thought that don't know if I had ever heard of this man. Like, sorry, no offense, but apparently I was very familiar with his work. Aside from Lady Hawk, which we all know now that I had never heard of.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, I'm really interested to know how this happened. Because not only did he have two movies come out in the same year, they were so close together.
Yes.
And I understand that if he was doing this for different studios, it's not like the release schedule is up to him. But I was trying to find some information about that, and I really couldn't. But also, it's bizarre when you think about The Goonies being a hit, and Lady Hawk was so not. Even when it was released, you know, it really didn't do that well. And so not only did he have two movies released right at the same time, totally different outcomes.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel bad because it sounded like Lady Hawk was so personal for him. And that's the one that didn't do well.
Maybe it was the great music. I don't know.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Oh.
I mean, I have, without getting too far ahead, slight theory is, you know, the Goonies feels like someone else had did it because they probably had some hands in the pot, so to speak, as per usual.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
God,
I mean,
Steven,
like, the
take a break.
screenplay and the story are like both come from pretty predominant figures at this time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I never knew that Chris Columbus wrote the script for the Goonies. Maybe it was just, you know, the age I watched all these movies, I obviously wasn't keeping up with the names of the people behind the scenes. But
Sure.
I'm learning so much as we go back
Absolutely.
and do these episodes. Like how I learned what an amazing career John Hughes had.
Right.
I obviously knew he had a big career, but I didn't know the extent of it exactly. Same with Chris Columbus.
Yeah, they were both writing machines.
Yeah, really. And it's funny when you think about Chris Columbus just starting out with his throwaway Gremlins script that turned into like a Christmas classic.
Yeah.
And wasn't Chris Columbus the one that left National Lampoon Christmas Vacation?
Yeah.
And then went on to direct Home Alone? Like,
yeah.
all these happy accidents for him.
Yeah, I mean, all because of Chevy.
I was gonna say, I watched that new Chevy Chase documentary. It was on CNN, but it's streaming on HBO now. That's why I finally watched it and thought about good old Chris Columbus. He did not come up.
Shocking.
Shocking. But a lot of similar Chevy Chase stories came up. It was honestly, like, we can talk about it another time, but I found it a little difficult to watch because there's so many like horrible stories about him, and now he's just an old man and they're reciting all these quotes back to him about like awful things people have said about him.
That's, I feel like, justified, but also like a form of torture. I don't know how I feel about that.
Right. I think when you have the visual of this person who is like obviously 80 years old and I think has a little bit of memory loss due to health issues, it hits different, obviously, because he almost feels a little helpless sometimes because he can't remember everything.
Damn.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway.
Anyway, okay. So, with all that, our movie today is The Goonies, directed by Richard Donner, released June 7th, 1985, rated PG. The screenplay is by Chris Columbus, and the story idea is by Steven Spielberg.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Yeah. When classic 80s villain of a big property development company wants to buy the Goondocks part of Astoria, Oregon, and turn it into a golf course, the kids in the neighborhood decide to have one last adventure before they all scatter across the country. This idea of one more hang turns into a chance to save the day when they find an old treasure map in the attic. Will the legend of One-Eye Willie lead them to salvation or damnation? First time I saw it, I don't have like a pinpoint year. I was definitely little, and I want to say it might have been on TV. I don't know how quick the turnaround is from theaters to TVs back in the 80s. I mean, shit, it probably could have been early 90s, which would have been 5 years, which is a good amount of time, I suppose. Yeah. I just feel like I saw it on TV for the first time on like a lazy Saturday or some sort of weekend afternoon. Mm-hmm. And maybe my older sister put it on for us, but I guess don't remember. I remember being really little, being in the house for whatever reason, and watching this adventure.
So I don't remember when I first saw it. It wasn't actually a movie that we watched a lot at my house, but it seemed to be something that people would always put on in school if we had like movie time. And I had friends who, like, this was their favorite movie, hands down. They would quote it all the time. So, you know, if we were over at their house, we would watch it. I just feel like I was always aware of it. Like, I was always aware of all the famous lines, and I was always aware of Sloth and, like, I smell ice cream and truffle shuffle and things like that. Like, yeah. I just always knew all these things, even if I had never actually maybe sat down and watched the whole thing start to finish. Obviously now I've seen it a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I really just remember certain friends of mine just being completely obsessed with this movie and quoting it all the time.
Yeah, I didn't have that. I mean, I liked it. I didn't own it. I watched it when it was available. I remember a lot of the second part of the film, like they're actually in the caves having the adventures. I guess the build-up was, to like a 6-year-old, the boring part, as we keep saying. I don't remember a lot of that build-up. I remember, like, Josh Brolin on his little tricycle or whatever. No, it was black. It just had whatchamacallit, training wheels on. I remember that, and then I remember, like, all the stuff in the tunnels because of the booby traps, and, like, how do you not forget that?
Of course, yeah.
But, like, the in-between stuff I kind of forgot.
Yeah, and it's funny because I do, too. Every time I watch it, I feel like I forget what order the different things in the cave happen in. And that was something I kept realizing, you know, watching it so closely, taking notes. I was noticing so much more, even though I've seen this a bunch. It was just... Of course. I was like, have I ever actually seen it? Like, maybe it's just been a while. It was a little difficult figuring out how the idea came about, pre-production, how people got chosen for the cast, all of that stuff. I feel like we have one of those Steven Spielberg movies where it's not literally a Steven Spielberg directed movie, but he's there a lot and he's really involved, and somehow it's all still his idea. So, I mean,
to be fair, up until doing this as a general project, I thought a lot of movies were Steven Spielberg movies that weren't technically him directing, but they all feel the same. Shockingly, why?
Yeah.
Whether he produced it, wrote the story, wrote the screenplay, I don't know, had dinner with an exec once. It's like they all feel like they came from the same person behind the camera.
Yes.
Even though I think we've only had like one actual two maybe Steven Spielberg movies like directing so far out of all these episodes.
Yes, I made notes of this.
Oh, nice.
Jurassic Park episode 12 and Jaws episode 15, but he had a similar role in Poltergeist episode 23 and Gremlins episode 30, where he was a co-writer or came up with the story, or he was just there all the time.
Sure.
And sure sounded like he was directing sometimes when you hear
Yeah.
people's stories.
And, like, obviously Jurassic Park and Jaws feel similar because of, A, they're actually directed by Steven Spielberg, but
Yes.
what's going on in the movies. Poltergeist, Gremlins, we haven't talked about it yet, I'm sure it's somewhere in the horizon, E.T., all about the same time, all feel like the same person. So does this to me, Goonies, that is. This feels like it's a part of, like, this realm of Spielberg, like, tapping into some sort of childhood, like, Stephen King, coming of age era. Like, he's, like, reminiscing on his childhood in all these movies somehow.
Yeah, I know this is, like, very different than Stand By Me, but I was getting Stand By Me vibes having, having deep dove into Stand By Me already now.
I can see it.
So, supposedly, Spielberg was working on The Color Purple, and at some point he was just thinking, what do children do on rainy days when they're bored? What adventures would they think up?
I know you probably mean, when you say supposedly, like, he had this idea.
Yeah.
But I just want to clarify. Because we're just talking about these movies he's not a director of.
Yes.
He was actually working on The Color Purple, right? Not supposedly working on The Color Purple.
Yes, I'm sorry. He was directing The Color
Okay.
Purple. He directed it.
I knew that, but after that other conversation, I'm like, wait a minute now. Steven, what
Yeah.
are you doing here?
The original movie version, not the musical version with, like, Oprah and Whoopi. Yeah, so, he's always working. He's working on one movie and he's like, what about this story? He turned to this general idea of a story over to Chris Columbus. He just had this kernel of kids going on an adventure. Maybe it involved a ship already. I'm not entirely clear on that. It's hard when you get stories like this where basically Steven Spielberg commissioned Chris Columbus to write a screenplay based on this general idea, right? But it's hard to know how much was already thought up by Steven. And again, if you look at interviews, everyone has different ideas of who thought up what.
Right.
It gets very confusing. So Chris Columbus, we had already discussed as a director in Home Alone, episode 27, and briefly in the Christmas Vacation episode 26. He also wrote Gremlins, which we discussed in episode 30. So he had not really directed yet, I believe, because we're in 85 now. He's still a screenwriter, solely a screenwriter.
That sounds about right, yeah.
We have previously discussed Richard Donner in last week's episode, Lady Hawk.
Whoops.
Yeah, unbeknownst to us. It's like during the Christmas season when we accidentally had back-to-back, like, Chris Columbus stories. Yeah. A quote from Richard Donner: "My first thoughts were, why me? In terms of why should I direct this movie? Because it was Steven Spielberg who made the best movies for kids and for dreaming in the world. So why are you giving this to me? He said because he was busy doing something else and he thought I was as big a kid as he was, and he gave it to me."
I'm too busy being Steven Spielberg. You do it.
When is he not busy doing something else? Just last night, he won a Grammy and became an EGOT.
Probably while he was writing something else.
Probably, yeah, while doing so. He produced a documentary about John Williams, the composer, so now he has a Grammy.
There we go. He can rest.
Yep.
Put his feet up.
One would think, but yet no. Okay, so the script was originally called The Goon Kids and was over 120 pages. For those that don't know, a script, the rule of thumb is usually that one page of a script translates to about a minute of footage. So if you're looking at 120 pages, you're looking at a 2-hour movie. This was already more than that initially. There was a Goonies oath in the original script that went, "I will never betray my goon deck friends. We'll stick together until the whole world ends. Through heaven and hell and nuclear war, good pals like us will stick like tar. In the city or in the country or the forest or the boonies, I am proudly declared a fellow Goonie.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. It's a lot.
Yep. I think the way it plays out, I feel in the final movie is like, yes, the four younger boys are a tight-knit group of friends, but I feel like with something like this oath in it, it wouldn't have. I feel like it would have given it a different feel because you have the older kids joining once they're down in the caves, right? So like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I like this idea that they're all kind of the Goonies. And I feel like you'd lose that if you had the four of them having these real serious, like, I don't know, membership things.
Yeah. At one point, I think it's Andy. She has like, I'm not a Goonie because like she's hanging out with the popular kids at one point. So I definitely think it's
Yeah.
more of like just the kind of what they call themselves that all live in the area that's about to be a golf course.
Yeah.
Because Josh Brolin's the older brother, so he's a Goonie by definition. And I think
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, what's the girl with the short hair's name? Steph.
Stuff. Mm-hmm.
I think Steph is. I think she's in the area too, just because only Andy ousts herself. But
Yeah.
I could see it still working, being the four kids. They're the friends. Everyone else kind of are there, and through the adventure, probably become friends.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still very much like a Stand By Me thing, where it's just the four of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Corey Feldman has a lot of he's got a lot of friends and goes
I
on
know.
adventures together with them.
Yes. Yeah, I thought it was so funny the first time we see him. I'm like, oh, I can tell it's him now. He's not in a tree. Oh,
No, he's in the cave instead.
yeah. I know. So I couldn't find a whole lot about why certain actors were cast. I just found casting stories. Okay, Sean Astin, who was eventually cast as Mikey, he was so nervous during his audition that he said shit and then was convinced that he had bombed the audition because he had said a swear word in front of everyone. To make it worse, Spielberg, who was in the audition, felt that he should leave the room because his presence was probably making this little boy nervous. So Spielberg walked out, which further scared Sean Astin because he was like, well, if Steven Spielberg walked out on my audition, obviously I didn't get the part, which I understand why he would think this. But apparently Spielberg told him later that you had the job before you even opened your mouth.
So you have the looks, kid.
Yeah, I guess he thought he looked like a Mikey.
What world do you think walking out of someone mid audition is a good idea?
At least say something about why you're walking out, especially when it's a kid.
Yeah, or like let him go, like do his thing. Like, okay, I'm gonna leave the room. I got something to do, or like don't even say like I think I'm making you nervous. That's gonna make him feel worse. Like,
Sure.
oh yeah, I gotta go check on something. Go again. These guys are gonna take notes for me. Just something like lie to the kid or something. Just like walking
Right.
out mid audition. It's like, wow, am I that bad? He just doesn't
Yeah.
even gonna listen to the rest of my audition. No wonder why he said shit.
Well, it's funny too because they swear so much in the movie
Mm-hmm.
that I'm surprised he felt that was an issue.
It's also was it 10 years old, something like that.
Yeah, they were all between like 8 and 10, I think. Carrie Green, who was cast as Andy, this was her film debut. Her whole audition was an improv with another actress who was auditioning for Steph. And the team there for the audition said, just go talk about boys. So she said she kicked off her shoes, put up her feet on this couch, and was just talking to this other girl like they were, close girlfriends, talking about boys they liked. Apparently, when the audition was over, she couldn't find her shoes, and this was Richard Donner playing a joke on her. And apparently, this was like a thing he really liked to pull pranks. And we will get a little more into some of the pranks they pulled on him because I feel like he definitely got a taste of his own medicine on this shoot. Joe Pantoliano, I think I'm saying that right.
That's yeah, Panto.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I would say it.
Okay. They all call him Joey Pants. And I've heard this before because he went on to be on like The Sopranos and different things, and they call him Joey Pants. And the cast all called him that too when they were talking about him in interviews. Him and Robert Davi, who are the two criminal brothers, They had previously worked together, and they had what they called a combative relationship. They ended up auditioning together, and production really liked that they were constantly trying to one-up each other, so that's how they both got cast. They were literally cast together.
It makes that brother relationship work, too.
Oh, for sure, yeah. John Matuzak, who played Sloth, had been a football player for the NFL. He was a defensive lineman for the Oakland Raiders in particular until 1981. Apparently, he was a quote-unquote bad boy. He was a very controversial player. I know nothing about this, so if anyone here is a big football fan and you're like yelling at me because I don't know who this man is, I'm very sorry.
Well, we are also not born yet and definitely not watching football at this time.
Yep. Sorry to this man.
Right. I'm assuming I didn't look him up specifically, but saw him without the makeup, and he just looks like a big angry man. I feel like he probably was extra rough on the field.
Yeah, I could see him being angry. Or is he just like trying to look angry? Because he's like...
Yeah.
Okay, some of these he really does just look like he has the eyes of someone who's gonna murder me, so... Okay. Anyway, I guess he was a pro athlete that transitioned to acting. I don't really know, to be honest, because as with all of these, I couldn't figure out why one person was cast over another, really. But his makeup took 4 hours every day, and it couldn't get wet, especially because one of his eyes was mechanical, I guess, and because one of his eyes had to be able to move on its own. So they had to constantly make sure the kids weren't splashing him. You can imagine this was difficult when you think about like some of the settings for this movie. But Richard Donner said he was a really good sport about the kids and the hours of makeup. And he became really close with Jeff Cohen, who played Chunk. Obviously, the two of them have a lot of scenes together. Jeff Cohen said, John was really nice to me and it was fun to work with him. But it's funny, when I was a teenager and I would start to watch the old NFL films and they would have films of John playing for the Raiders, he was one of the meanest players in the history of the league. He would just terrify people on the field, which was totally shocking to me. I knew him as Sloth, the nice, lovable giant.
Yeah, so apparently he had a very wild persona, also struggled with substance abuse and violent outbursts.
Okay.
There was a lawsuit. Some controversies he had was he broke a man's jaw. In 1986, while he was in college, there was a lawsuit for allegedly beating a stripper. And at his death at 38 was from accidental prescription drug overdose.
I didn't realize he died so young. Dang.
So, a little bit of a temper problem, it seems.
Wow. Okay. So, all I could really find was just that this was his film debut, same as the girl who plays Andy. This started shooting in October of 1984 and lasted 5 months. Sean Astin, again, who plays Mikey, said in his memoir that Spielberg and Richard Donner were like co-directors. Where have we heard that before?
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Other articles credited Spielberg as an uncredited second unit director. And I read in various articles that he specifically directed the wishing well scene where, you know, they're yelling up to was it Troy? And like the coin comes up and down. And that Spielberg came up with the big water slide.
That seems on brand.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Some of it was shot on location in Astoria. The ship and the stuff in the caves was a soundstage. Mikey and Brand's house is a real house in Astoria. You can see it. We will talk about that at the end. Although the final beach scene was shot in Sonoma County, California. Maybe something logistically there. I don't know. A lot of articles were saying that when they're on the beach, more toward the beginning, like when they're on the beach and they first find the abandoned restaurant, that's Cannon Beach, which is not in Astoria. And apparently, if you are at all familiar with the area, you can tell it's Cannon Beach and it's not in the right area.
Okay.
I've heard of Cannon Beach. I guess I didn't know where it was in relation to Astoria.
Yeah, that's all just the Goonies to me.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed very random. Like, why? like, again, maybe because of where they ended up or something, but that's so in the middle of Astoria and a soundstage in LA that I'm just like, I don't understand.
I mean, it was a real boat. Maybe it's something to do with, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
it's a cool shot, the little bay shot with the boat sailing away. It's nice.
Yeah. There were lots of references to Richard Donner having to learn how to wrangle all these kids and how difficult it was. He said he wasn't just filming a movie, but he had to learn how to do crowd control. And it didn't sound like he had worked with many child actors in general, and then suddenly he had a bunch of them at once.
Yeah, yeah, sure did.
He said it was good and bad that the kids weren't professional actors. I think it's fair to say at this point, Corey Feldman was probably the only like actor, because a lot of the kids were still really young, hadn't had much work behind them, and then even Josh Brolin and Cary Green, this was their debut,
Right.
and they were two of the older ones. So Richard Donner said one of the good parts about the kids not being professionals for the most part was that he felt like they got natural reactions from them, and they had really natural instincts about how a kid would react to certain situations, or just like how a kid would act around a group of his friends. Bad though, because they never did multiple takes the same way. Like they never hit their mark the same way or did the same kind of expression or whatever. And he found it difficult to edit. He did say that whenever he needed them to react really dramatically, he would yell big eyes at them. So they would all open their eyes really wide.
It makes sense. I totally get. If someone said that to me, I'd know what to do. So
Sure. But he did say that the kids all became a tight-knit group to the point where he felt like they would almost gang up on him sometimes. He would tell these stories about how at first things were kind of standoffish because he felt like he didn't know how to be around all these kids. Then it turned into a situation where they were just so excited to see him every day, like he was their grandpa, and they would give him hugs and hang on him and like pull pranks on him, and he would kind of prank them back. And then it turned into a situation where it sounded like the kids would almost be competing for Richard Donner's attention. Like if they felt like he was favoring one kid that day, this is where they would quote unquote gang up on him and be like, well, what about this? And what about me? And what do you think about this? And he was like, oh my gosh. Like,
right.
I have a quote from him. They were all non-professionals, and they became the Goonies who loved each other and hated each other. It was an amazing experience for them as well as me. No, for me more than them. It was an amazing experience working with these pure, wonderful, unprogrammed minds. I'm not putting down professionally trained actors. They are great to work with, and you become simpatico with them, and things flow, and that's another thing totally. But this was just a totally unique experience. It was bliss.
It sounded like it was more fun than not.
Yeah, and it sounded like he was very surprised that it turned out to be that much fun. Because it sounded like he was very hesitant to work with a bunch of kids, and like he really was concerned that he wouldn't know how to handle all of this. Joey Pants said Donner was... That's his name. Donner was very open, so anybody could come to dailies to watch the unedited footage. The kids would come, and there would be pizza and soda, a lot of laughing and roughhousing. And he also said that Ki Hae Kwan's mother, who plays Data, his mother would come to set and cook Vietnamese food for everyone.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Cary Green, who plays Andy, said, we were on the ship filming, and Dick, Richard Donner, said, come here, we need to get this shot. He guided me to where there was a big cake, and everyone started singing. I thought I did something wrong, but no, he was always joking around like that. It was very sweet. People would ask me later on, oh, were there lots of drugs? No, like, what are you talking about? We were kids. First of all, the cake was because she turned 18 while filming. I guess that part didn't make it into the quote. Her being asked if there were a lot of drugs on set, it's funny comparing this to the stories we heard from the set of Stand By Me.
Right, as I was just thinking.
Because there are a lot of drugs on that set, according to all of them.
Yeah.
And not a lot of parents.
Yeah, no one was cooking any specialty meals on that set. Doesn't sound like it.
There were a lot of parents on this set, actually.
That's good.
And siblings.
Oh,
We'll get to that in a moment. Sean Astin, who played Mikey, we'd all hug Dick and climb all over him like he was Santa Claus. Steven Spielberg came in to direct things like the kiss and the scene in the wishing well. He was really quiet. He'd flick a finger and people would set stuff up. They were a perfect combo.
okay. Okay.
Corey Feldman, Tim Burton, and Paul Rubens, aka Pee Wee Herman, if anyone doesn't know, would come over to set. Dan Aykroyd, too. Harrison Ford actually came and climbed around the caves with us at one point. Joey Pants said that Harrison Ford was a really big star at this point, like Indiana Jones had happened. When Harrison came to visit, he was on the cover of a magazine. Steven Spielberg ordered 300 copies, so when Harrison came over to see the ship, everybody had the magazine like they were reading it. Harrison was going, "What the hell's going on here?" Do you imagine just like walking onto set and everyone has like this magazine cover with your face on it?
Yeah, it's how great is it to roll around in the caves with Harrison Ford, because
Yeah,
this is basically, I think I have it in my notes later, like the child version of Indiana Jones.
exactly.
And
That's
then
what
here
I was
he
thinking.
is hanging out, Uncle Han Solo over here.
Yeah. That's, yes, very true.
What the hell?
So at some point, filming had fallen behind schedule. It was supposed to be a 3-month shoot. It turned into 5 months. Because of this, Richard Donner encouraged everyone to bring their families to set, especially if they had to work weekends. So everyone's parents and siblings were hanging out. One of the camera operators brought his daughter with him one weekend. She was the same age as Josh Brolin, and they hit it off, and she ended up going to prom with him.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
So it does sound like a really laid back, like family friendly kind of shoot. And it probably just had to be anyway, because you're working with so many kids under 18 and there are only so many hours they can work, right? I did like this quote from Martha Plimpton, who plays Steph. She says, "I recall trying to kill Corey one day. I was sitting at the typewriter doing my homework and he came over and started annoying me. I got up from the typewriter and got you on the floor." She was talking to him at this point. "Started smashing your head on it, shouting, 'Shut up, shut up, shut up.'" And then this was from a 2015 reunion for its 30th anniversary. So they were probably all like on a stage together. Sean Astin said, "Corey and I got on each other's nerves. He was mouth on screen and off. He's got a big heart, so we were brothers, but we definitely scrapped a little bit together."
Corey is mouth on like every movie he's in.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. That's a really good point.
Like, he just doesn't turn it off. I feel like, at least in the early years, he was typecast, but it works every time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at least the movies we've seen of his so far that we've discussed, he's kind of just like the same character.
Yeah. He's pretty tame in Gremlins.
Well, you know, he's in a tree for like a good chunk of it, so. I feel like he still has his little quips in Gremlins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So at the end of filming, Steven Spielberg organized this big prank that they all played on Richard Donner. The kids totally iced him out the last day of filming. No hugs or warmth, just hey as they walked past and did their scenes. Donner felt really snubbed, especially because they kind of had turned into this like warm and cuddly relationship like we had talked about. He thought maybe they were becoming more professional and jaded like in the span of 5 months.
It happens.
There was a quote too where he was complaining to his wife about it. His wife, who he met on Lady Hawk, who was a producer.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And she was like, "They're kids, they're teenagers, just like let them do their thing, whatever." So Richard Donner flew to Hawaii after the wrap party to go on vacation and relax. He said the cast were even pretty cold to him at the wrap party, so he was feeling really low.
Jesus.
They ended up surprising him on a beach in Hawaii, the entire cast with their parents and everything. Steven Spielberg told them, "Okay, you guys, I'm going to give you a week's vacation in Hawaii, but we're really going to screw up Donner. But if he finds out, you don't go."
Wow.
So for a week, they claimed they had to do the best acting they ever did. They had to pretend that Richard Donner wasn't there. And Richard Donner said they did, and I love them. Their deal was that they could only stay 5 hours and then go to another island, but I kept them. We had a great barbecue and everybody came, but it was them. That's the first time they ever had to act because up until then they were themselves.
Kind of funny coming from their director on the movie. It's like, oh yeah, they weren't acting until they were lying to me.
I don't know. I have such mixed feelings about this because it's like, I don't know. I just feel so bad for this guy feeling like his cast had just turned against him. Like the last day of filming, the wrap party, like you don't get that back.
Yeah.
You know?
Was it like a surprise party?
They all surprised him in Hawaii. From what it sounded like, he had a neighbor that was like, oh my gosh, I have to run all these errands. Can you drive me places? And he was like, okay. And he was kind of annoyed because he had wanted to go to the beach. And this was like the ruse to get, everyone set up where they wanted them to be on the beach. But he was already feeling grumpy because his day had kind of slipped away helping this neighbor. And then he saw Josh Brolin walking toward him on the beach and he was like, what are you doing here? And Josh Brolin's like, what? And then he saw like everyone else come up behind him.
All right.
Yeah, not a lot of pre-production stories this time. I was a little surprised.
Yeah.
I did not think to note how cheesy the opening credits were. Were they cheesy? Remind me.
I didn't think so.
Okay,
it was
good.
Just the title, Goonies, in a fun font that looked appropriate for this movie and the time and also today's time. Like I literally wrote, hey, a non-lame title. That's my notes.
Okay, well, good.
And it was like, it was just, I think, one of the production logos and then Goonies.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in the Goonies font, and everything was fine. There was no weird zooming in or out or synth music or
like things breaking.
Oh yeah, that's 90s. That's we're not there yet.
Oh, see, I was thinking about the quote shattering in The Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah, that was like, I was thinking of like Armageddon where like the words crumbled. Yeah, you're right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, fuck, The Breakfast Club. That's weird. Anyway, no, this was good. I like this one. It was simple and to the point and easy.
Yeah. My son watched this with me and I was not sure what to expect because I could see some of the parts being a little creepy to him. He got so into it and it was so fun watching him watch this for the first time. He had never heard it. He didn't know anything about it. I just told him it's about a group of kids that like they're trying to find like a buried treasure basically, because he understood that kind of a reference. But then of course I start the movie and it starts with the scene of like, we find out it's fake, but of the one brother hanging in his jail cell. And I was like, well, that's a little hardcore.
Yep, I didn't remember that at all.
Yep. Oh, yeah, same. And, like I said, I realize it's fake, but we're not supposed to know that at first. And immediately I was like, oh, have I made a mistake? He asked me at that point if I was sure this was a kid's movie.
That's very grown up of him to ask.
Yep. But again, we have a PG movie with, and I'm not saying the PG is completely wrong in this one, but for it being PG, I was surprised at how much swearing there was.
By the kids.
By the kids, yeah. Like, I personally don't care if my kid hears that. Like, there are worse things he could watch. He also thought it was hilarious hearing a bunch of little kids say shit all the time. That was possibly one of his favorite parts of the movie. But I was surprised at the amount of swearing for it having the PG rating.
Yeah, this is 85, so PG-13 has not come full circle yet. It's not that's not the word I want to use. It hasn't come into the light yet.
Well, it was 84 where they were really like, what the hell, guys? We need a PG-13 type of thing because of Gremlins and Indiana Jones.
Okay.
Introduced July 1st, 1984.
Okay, so it did exist. So PG-13 exists in this world. Why they make this movie, and I wonder what behind the scenes promise or threats or whatever Spielberg did to get it to PG. Not that I think it's, you said, horribly rated, but the fact that all the kids are swearing But if we've had this argument before, if you make it PG-13, are you going to get the age group of just like barely under Josh Brolin's character, or are you trying to go after the Mikey age group?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have a problem with the kid swearing for being PG.
Correct.
The man that committed suicide in the first second of the movie, I was like, oh, okay. And then of course it's fake, but still, like, you're 6, 8, 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You say, Mom, is this a kids movie? What's going on here?
Yep. Yep. He asked me again when we see the stiff.
Yes. There's plenty of dead bodies.
We'll get to that, I guess, but it is a little intense at times. So, but yeah, like you said, it's the studios will consider the actual movie, right? But then, like, they also are always considering the implication that has for who's going to come see the movie or who will be able to see the movie. And so which in that way, it turns into kind of a disingenuous thing when we've seen them do things like, add more swearing and Stand By Me so they can get an R rating.
Yes.
Because they were worried people wouldn't go see a Stephen King movie that wasn't rated R. And oh boy.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I always liked about the Goonies is that the brothers and their mom are so caricature, like, mobster criminals, and I think it's really funny, especially the mom, because she's so hardcore.
Yeah, she is.
And then to add to that with the one of them singing opera, like, we're just gonna be super Italian.
Yeah.
Did you know he's a real life, like, because he's a trained opera singer, he suggested this for his character?
I didn't know that somehow.
Okay.
During my quick research, just looking up stuff while watching this movie. Apparently didn't look up if he was Fred Ward or not, but hey.
Yeah, he suggested this for his character. It was not in the original script. And Chris Columbus was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Why not?
Yeah, that's your tick, I guess.
It's so funny to me that when they do actually bust him out that he can't open a car door. Like, they plan this elaborate thing and then they can't get the door open. Yeah,
it made me laugh pretty hard too, because I've had the situation in real life. Not the escaping from jail, but it's it's the classic, the old days when everything was manual and you try to open the car door at the same time someone is trying to unlock it. First of all, guys, your brother's escaping from jail. All the doors should be unlocked. Why are the doors locked?
Yes, I thought that too. Like, of all the planning that went into this.
Yeah, but he was just opening it at the exact same time Joey Pants was trying to unlock it, and it was just counterbalancing. And I also think of like old Kevin James skit where he's talking about that, like, situation with his, I don't know, date or girlfriend at the time. It's just like, and like he can't unlock the door because she's touching the button at the same time. It's like, will you just wait? Let me do it. Just wait. Yeah, that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's very true.
And then instead he just jumps in the moonroof.
Why not? But yeah, from this moment, once we realized this criminal was not actually dead and he was making a run for it, my son was in it. He was like, oh, they're escaping from jail. And he's never been necessarily, I feel like he's old enough now to get into like an adventure movie or an action movie now, because usually he would just enjoy really silly things, but he was locked in, and I've never seen him react that way to a movie before. Yeah, it was great. This building really was the county jail in Astoria for a time. It is now a museum, which we will get into later. Oh, this is where I noted that Chris Columbus wrote the screenplay, because I watched this before doing any research, and I'm like, look, it's Chris Columbus again.
Yeah. I was confused as an adult watching this part, because when you see him, like, feigning his death, like, it just feels like a prison. And, or maybe I remember them being, like, these wanted mobsters, and then, like, they leave this building that is notably smaller than where the Ghostbusters do their business. And I feel like they're, like, in a one-bedroom apartment jail. Like, I thought, like, why is he in this county boondock jail cell with his other families on the loose? Did he, like, run a red light? It just seems like they could have had a better jail for a wanted mobster. I don't know. It just seems very. Yeah. And then they just hang out in this restaurant. Like, you guys don't know where these people are?
Yeah, actually, when I would watch this when I was younger, I always felt like the jail made it seem like it took place way longer ago, like way earlier than the 80s, because it looked like an old-timey jail.
I think it's just an old-timey town.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is, really, is that, like, the town they chose to shoot this in just didn't have, like, a really big jail.
Maybe they're not actually big-time mobsters like I'm supposed to believe. Maybe they're big mobsters in a small pond.
I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always had that sense, too, that they were supposed to be these big-time mobsters, and maybe it was just all the Italian-American stereotypes that made me think this.
Yeah, you figured, like, with the stereotypes, the cops won't look at the abandoned restaurant.
For some reason, every time I watch this, I forget about Josh Brolin being in it, and I don't know why, but every time we open, where we start seeing the kids at the house, it's like, oh, Josh Brolin. Like, I don't know. Because I think I just think of him as, like, an older adult actor, because that's how I more so grew up with him. Like, I didn't know, actors when I was watching this as a kid. I think of, like, No Country for Old Men, Josh Brolin.
That's
and
exactly
then I see him
what
in
I
this,
put
and
down.
I'm like, oh, look at that.
Yeah. Well, even before we get to the house, I wanted to note that I noticed this time the car chase, it interacts with all the main characters except for maybe the brothers. That's the house we finally get to. But it's really cool because it's in the background, or somehow they're interacting with it in some way, shape, or form. Like, Chunks sees it and drops what he's doing, and he gets all excited to see a car chase. So he literally drops his ice cream cone or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's in the background at the park where Steph's hanging out. I thought that was really cool because it intertwines these characters just through the credit sequence with a little car chase.
Yeah, it's a good point. I picked up on that a little bit, but I don't think I ever really noticed it before, aside from Chunk with the ice cream, because that's memorable.
But he makes a very big deal about it. He's like, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yep. Yeah, my son was like, oh no, it's ice cream. Like, I know, but don't worry.
Yeah, he'll get more.
He'll get more. Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
When I think of Josh Brolin, I definitely think of No Country for Old Men, because I feel like that might have been my introduction to him. Well, which is a lie, because I obviously seen Goonies.
Yeah, but I just don't.
It doesn't click.
I just don't think of him. Yeah. And then, of course, we see Sean Astin. I'm like, oh, yeah, him too. Like, I don't know. I just, I forget these really big names are in this, apparently, every time I watch it.
I didn't watch Sopranos until very recently. So for me, like, Joey Pants is the Matrix. And I know he's had a career way before that, and looks nothing like he normally does in any other movie. But, like, I see Joey Pants, I go, oh, yeah, that's Cypher. That son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah, okay. Of course, yeah. Okay, I had a note when Corey Feldman enters the scene. Is this our third Corey Feldman movie? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
So I'm just like, he's everywhere. Much like Steven Spielberg. Chunk, Jeff Cohen, never acted again after this. And we'll get into, like, what happened to him after the movie, but he had a very interesting relationship moving forward with Richard Donner and his wife. But for the truffle shuffle scene, Richard Donner said, there was no direction. I don't take any credit for that. It was just Jeff. He had to stand on that stump and be ridiculed by his friends so he could come in the house, and he did it as best as that character could do it. So much humor comes from pain, although I'm sure he was too young to be analytical about it, but I'm sure that was part of his instincts. It was a painful scene. Donner has talked in a lot of interviews that he felt bad having to make him do this, basically. Yeah. Again, we'll get more into the relationship, after we discuss the movie, but Richard Donner and his wife ended up, like, really taking Jeff Cohen under their wing and, like, developed a workout plan for him. He ended up being captain of his high school wrestling team and his football team and class president in high school.
Nice.
Yeah. And if you look at him now, he is unrecognizable.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be able to pick him out the lineup, just considering I've only seen him as this kid.
Yeah, I think this was, like, pretty much his only acting credit, so. But, speaking of him being let in, My son loved this like Rube Goldberg machine they used to let Chunk in, and like he just thought this was the coolest thing, and it made me feel like this is a kind of thing we see a lot in 80s movies. I feel kind of similar to how the dad in the Gremlins has all his wacky inventions. There's always something like this, and I don't know how, like, what to call it, but there's always some weird invention thing that they build for something you could just easily do yourself.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lightweight, intelligent flex. Like, hey, look what I can do, even though I can just open the gate.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Something about it reminds me of the beginning of Back to the Future, because, again, I'm sure Doc has a bunch of things that are nice and elaborate, but don't need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And my gut tells me we'll see this in probably a couple other films we are going to talk about this season.
Yes.
At least I'm hoping they will be, because I may be starting to see a pattern to this Rube Goldberg machine usage. So all the kids show up at the house, and they're all hanging out, finally, and Chunk is kind of... We see him as a klutz.
Mm-hmm.
And even though Data just literally comes crashing in the screen door.
I know.
Like through like Batman grappling hook style or whatever.
Yes.
But there's a random replica of Michelangelo's David on their coffee table, and he knocks it over, and I was like, oh no, it's broken. It didn't break. And I'm expecting, because it falls off camera, like the head falls off or whatever. And then eventually they break off David's David.
Yeah.
Right? And Sean Astin, Mikey, he's like, oh no, that's my mom's favorite piece. And Mouth is like, it wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, like, you're kind of towing the line of being a little dirty, too, in this PG movie.
Yeah. Yep. Of course, my son thought this was hilarious, because
yeah,
private parts are funny.
Yeah. Well, then they spend, like, 3 minutes trying to fix it.
Yeah.
And then Chunk...
Get it wrong.
he puts it on upside down.
Yeah.
To where, like, Brand, who is Josh Brolin, he's like, you can't have it that way. You're going to pee in your own face or something like that. I was like, Jesus, this is ridiculous. I love it.
Yeah. This is where I wrote, is this the same town as Stand By Me? I'm getting similar vibes.
I could see that to some degree. I also kind of felt like the little town in Jaws, just because they're right on the water. They're on the docks.
I could see that.
So a little bit of both, I feel. I think it's just the Corey Feldman. It's is this Gremlins? Is this Lost Boys? I don't know. They're all like these little small towns, too.
Yeah. I wrote that Mouth did this poor cleaning lady dirty with his translation, and my son wasn't quite understanding at first, like, what was happening, and he's like, oh, she's gonna think they're crazy. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
That is. Yes. I laugh so hard when they find the map in the attic or wherever they are, and they go, 1632, is that a year or something?
Right.
What are these schools teaching you? And then, what's all that Spanish junk?
Mm-hmm.
But then, also, you know, they get Mouth to read it, because we've already seen that Mouth knows Spanish. I think it's so funny that as he's translating Spanish into pirate speak, because he's like, ye old whatever, and I'm like, oh, how do you say ye in Spanish?
I have to ask Mouth.
Yeah, I know. I read a story that Sean Astin took this map after filming just as a souvenir, but his mom threw it out because like years later, because she thought it was like a crumpled piece of garbage.
It was a crumpled piece of garbage, but like, it's supposed to be.
I know.
Oh no.
I know.
This whole attic scene is chaos and fun, but I was wondering, like, why is Mikey so much more responsible than Brand? Like, he's telling everyone not to, like, fuck around with his dad's stuff. You're gonna break something.
Yeah.
Josh Brolin's up there just hanging out in his workout clothes.
I feel like part of the vibe I was getting is that Brand is mad at his dad. Like, he kind of blames his dad for the house being put into foreclosure.
Okay.
Because there were just a couple lines where he's like, well, Dad isn't here. Or just... And for a second, I was like, wait, did their dad, like, leave.
I thought that too.
Yeah, because I couldn't remember, and then I was like, well, no, because he's there at the end. But
yeah, which I forgot. The whole movie, the vibe of feeling like because Brandon's older, he remembers more about their father than young Mikey, who has this very, I don't know, bubble view on their dad that I thought left on their family. Like, they just packed up
and like that's why they are losing the house,
right? And that's why they have a cleaning lady to help his mom, who's also in a sling. And for a brief second, I was like, did he have some domestic problems and then leave? Like, I don't know. I was making a backstory for this father that I clearly wasn't there.
Right.
But yeah, it does seem like Brand is mad that the whole town's getting bought out. So it's like, I don't know, just teenage, I guess.
Yeah, that's like, I was getting confused about that too, because obviously there's the scene when they're in the cave that Mikey's telling Steph or Andy or both of them that, you know, the next time you take a test, it'll be in another town. It's like, it made sense when it was like that one house getting foreclosed, but then how are they buying the whole town if everyone else assuming and I assume is keeping up with their mortgages? I don't know. Yeah. It was just confusing, but just don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, I think what it just comes down to is they had more money than these people put together, and this Astoria town was like, yeah, we'll take all your money because we're going to make a lot of money off this. Yeah. And then the jewels equal more than what they can offer. So, yeah, we get to keep our shanty town on the docks.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what... The end. Roll credits. We're done. All right. See you next week, kids.
I will say, though, I'm very jealous of the nice wraparound porch on this house.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when they leave the attic, there's that little bit where Chunk goes into the fridge and, like, gets the whipped cream out. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff Cohen said in an interview that he tries to explain to people all the time that being the fat kid was really difficult, like, while filming this. And he said, like, obviously you're the butt of every joke in the script, but he also said that the fat kids are always put in the position where they have to eat all the time throughout the film. And he said this scene in particular, like, where he's spraying the whipped cream in his mouth, he said, you do 50 takes, that's 50 hits of the whipped cream. Mm-hmm. And I had thought of that because I feel like so often either actors are not really eating or they have, like, spit buckets, which, like, I know is gross, but I guess when you're working with kids, it's probably just easier to be like, eat the food.
Have some whipped cream.
Yeah. 50 times. But it was just interesting. So I read this interview with him and I actually went back to look at that scene again because I was like, he probably, like, I think I would hate whipped cream. After, yeah.
I don't think Chunk's that chunky. I don't know.
I thought that too, actually.
I just think he is more of the butt of the jokes, but you're going to get that in a group of kids. I don't know. I'm surprised they don't make fun of his clothes. Like, he's got, not that he's poor and has, like, you know, ragged clothes, but he's got a Hawaiian shirt and plaid pants. What are you doing, kid?
I thought that too. Like, one of the times that they're, like, in the abandoned restaurant and you see more of a full body shot, I was like, what are these pants? Yeah. Because I always think of the Hawaiian shirt. Yes. Yeah, but I was like, God, your outfit doesn't even match. Like, and he's clumsy. Like, they could have had all that without the, you know, like, the fat jokes. That would have been enough. Like, your clothes don't match and you break stuff all the time.
Yeah. Clothes don't match. When they're back in the attic and, like, he kind of has his little speech about, like, the legend. It's just him doing, like, basically a monologue. I don't know. I really liked it. I was already pulled into the movie because I remember it from watching it as a kid, but the beginning part is, I've got more fresh eyes on that because, as I said before, I just remember the cave, the adventures, the booby traps. If I wasn't already hooked, I'm hooked now. Like, the way he does that scene, and the camera tightens up on him, and the lighting. He has a lot of whisper talk when he does this as a character. When he goes on these, like, huge monologues to get his team to get behind him. That's just what Sean Austin chose to do, or Don, or whatever. But I don't know. It worked for me.
Yeah. He's obviously the leader of the group, right? Like, you can argue that he's the main character, but he's very earnest, which is a word we love to use. Yeah. But also, he has this wistful little kid quality, like everything's an adventure, and it works.
It does work.
So when they're done in the attic, we get this bit where the TV's on, and you see the Cyndi Lauper music video playing for Goonies Are Good Enough, the song for the movie. I personally always like it when a song made for the movie is actually in the movie and not just in the end credits.
Yes.
And I always thought this was such a good way to fit it in too, because you're in the mid 80s, music videos are big, like of course this is what these kids would be watching, so it's just a really natural way to fit the song in, but also just like this is pop culture at the time.
Yeah.
I meant to go back and watch the music video because apparently Andre the Giant was in it.
So
okay.
I did watch the music video after seeing your notes, not knowing there was a music video. So I watched it waiting to record while we were getting set up. And it's like on YouTube, it's like one video. Apparently it's part 1 and part 2, though. And it's like 15 minutes long because they have scenes from the movie in there, too, of like just like the chorus without lyrics just playing in the background. Okay. But yeah, Andre the Giant is in the very last bit of part 2. Okay. But other professional wrestlers are in there. They're all playing bad guys. They are foreclosing the gas station or wherever Cyndi Lauper's parents work at. And then Andre the Giant literally like poofs into existence and scares them all away at the end. Yeah. They basically have their own Goonies adventure in the music video. And the other wrestlers like Roddy Piper and whatnot are like chasing them through a very Goonies-esque cave. And then they get the money. They can buy their... I get getting confused because they kept being hibachi, like randomly. Like they were cooking hibachi on like a flat top grill at random, like on the side of the road with a gas station in the caves at one point. I was very confused by that. Yeah. So that was weird. I know we'll talk about it later, but there in the music video there is a fight with some octopus tentacles.
Okay. Yeah. Very interesting.
So we'll get to that at the end. Yeah. Video is weird, but the song is catchy, and I'm literally hearing it in my head right now.
Yeah, that's true. And this is the first episode of this season where we don't have like controversy about the song or the score or whatever. So
yeah, as far as I know,
that's good for everyone. Yeah.
I didn't really look too much into it. Did you see any research to why they chose Cyndi Lauper to do this?
No.
Just big at the time. It's 85. So.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think. Yeah, it was just like a good name to have attached. And were we talking about it with the Breakfast Club that was really becoming a thing to grab like popular artists and have them attached to your movie with a song?
Yeah, she definitely was big at the time. And for those who don't know, Cyndi Lauper was briefly in WWF at the time. So that's where all the wrestlers come from. 1985, she appears and performs at the first WrestleMania. Welcome to our history podcast. Today we're talking about wrestling.
Yep. I can't believe I had to like give a French history lesson that last episode. You learn so much. So at this point, this is when like the younger kids decide to kind of tie up Brant and run away on their bikes to go find the treasure. My son thought this was hilarious that they were tying him up with his own like weird exercise, like resistance band thing, whatever that is.
How hard is that to stretch? Not that hard. So like, okay, well, thanks. And they just stretch it all around him as he's sitting in an easy chair.
Yeah. My son also thought it was hilarious when the mom and the cleaning lady come home and he's like tip the chair over and he, you know, he's trying to get them to help him and the mom's just like, oh, can't you just exercise like a normal person?
Yeah.
And then the little girl, you know, he steals the bike from the little girl like next door. That is the actor who plays Data. That is his real life sister.
It's awesome.
Because like I said, the families were all just like hanging out on set all the time and they would just need random extras like this, and Data lives right next door, so why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, you had mentioned this already, that it's so funny, like, seeing him on the bike, and I agree. Like, this is actually one of the scenes I remember, because I just think it's hilarious seeing this big guy on this little pink bike, and you made the same mistake I did, thinking at first it's a tricycle, because I always think of that too until they break off, the training wheels break off.
I could not help but picture Stripe on a tricycle from Gremlins.
Oh, yeah.
So, my mind made that connection, and then when they let go of Brand, he flies through some, like, thicket or whatever, and I just can't not help but think of E.T., because anytime I see a flying bike, I guess that's what I think of.
That's fair, yeah. At the restaurant, this whole scene, like, kills me, that these kids are just, like, acting so over the top scared the whole time, but then also, like, Chunk is the only one who was putting this together in the first place, right? Like, noticing all these little things that are off, and no one believes him. And then they get in there, and they're so, like, scared of this old woman that they can't even talk. And then, like, it's even more ridiculous that the mom is going along with this.
Yeah.
And because, like, even my son was like, oh, so they're pretending to run a restaurant so no one knows they escaped from jail? I'm like, well, this wasn't the original plan, but now they're just pretending to run it because these kids showed up. And he's like, oh, why don't they just, like, yell at them to leave? I'm like, yes, why don't they? Although, of course, like, Mouth actually ordering, like, a pasta meal or whatever, like, it was great. Yeah. Well, and especially, like, when she brings out this dirty water. Yes. I had forgotten about that part completely. Like, they all just order water, and then it's like, ooh.
It's like watered down iced tea. That's how dirty it is.
Yes. And then Mouth making fun of Mikey when Mikey says he has to pee, and he's, like, pouring the water into the 2 glasses. Like, I have had people do that to me before.
I thought that was hilarious, like, him just, you know, kind of getting under the skin of his friend, but then he doesn't go to the bathroom. He uses it as a ploy to, like, sneak around in the basement, and I was like, oh, for some reason I did not see that coming, and I've seen this movie, Joe, but, like, I couldn't tell, like, what kid was in on what part of the plan. Was Mouth just being Mouth, and Mikey used that to his advantage? Because it worked. It tricked me, so I had to trick Mom. Right.
I had that thought too, where, like, I guess he was using that as a ruse to go poke around, but then Mouth was really egging him on. Maybe Mouth didn't realize what he was doing. I don't know.
Right.
I'm surprised the mom even let him go down there, when you really think about it, because she's like, stick to the right, only the right. And it's like, even if he wasn't trying to, like, go poke around, he could just get turned around and see anything. So that seemed like a bad move on her part. I don't know. People are always underestimating kids in these movies, so maybe that's part of it too.
Sure.
So eventually Brant and the girls show up, Steph and Andy, and the younger kids have convinced Brant to go along with this. I don't really know how they convince him. I remember my son thought it was hilarious that he's all dirty because, like, he had just, you know, flown through the woods on his little bike. So they go back in, and I love the line that Steph says to Andy at some point where she says, you're in the clouds and we're in a basement.
Yeah.
Because she's just, you know, having a crush on Josh Brolin. This scene, though, when they get into the freezer, and of course, the famous line from Chunk saying he smells ice cream, he's naming all the flavors. He names grape. I don't think I've ever seen grape ice cream.
I would agree. I don't think I've ever seen grape ice cream either. I just, maybe some sorbet or some sherbet.
Maybe.
I remember, like, a grape Flintstones push pop back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Everything else he names, like Rocky Road and stuff, is reasonable. I read a book with my son recently where someone had butter pecan ice cream, and I had to explain to him what that was.
Yes, because it's an elderly person ice cream.
Yeah. That's what I thought when I was explaining it.
I still do not eat that ice cream yet. I'm not quite there.
Oh, see, I would eat it all the time at my grandparents' house. Yes. So grape ice cream, not a thing. This is when, you know, they find the dead body. Chunk's yelling stiff constantly. This was kind of intense, too, the way Because the guy's falling face first with the bullet hole in his head. Like, it's intense. Poor Chunk, with all of this, like, finding the dead body, having the dead body on him, and then they leave him in the freezer.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. They find the secret compartment under the fireplace, and they're, like, hurrying to get down there. And it just seems like an afterthought. Like, they assume Chunk is right behind them, but how did they forget him? Because he is literally the loudest thing ever, all the time.
That's a good point, too, because this must have been after he breaks the water cooler, because, like, they count down because they know he's gonna drop it, just like everything else. And it's like, yeah, how do you forget not only the loudest but the one that, like, makes the most noise in other ways? So eventually, you know, Chunk gets left in the freezer. The boys go down into the under the basement area, the caves, I guess now.
Yeah.
And they tell Chunk to go get the police. I know what's coming when Chunk, like, flags that car down, but I always feel so bad. Like, my heart just sinks when he realizes it's the bad guys that he's talking to. But that's a great shot in the side mirror to, like, reveal that it's the one brother.
That is an awesome shot, yeah.
And I really think it adds to it so much that the guys singing the opera, like, yes, it's silly, whatever, but I feel like just that he could be so nonchalant about them, like, kidnapping a kid.
Yeah.
And it just feels very mafia to me. I don't know. And also, he's singing very loudly, maybe to cover up any noise he's making. It's surprising to me, watching this scene, it's surprising that wasn't an original part of the movie.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I find it funny when he flags down the car. You're like, yeah, you know where this is probably going to go, because, you know, he ends up back in the basement with Sloth. But he's just, like, telling everything to whoever this car is, you know? He's like, well, you gotta take me to the cops because... And then he's done, and then the the bubble light comes on in the car. That's when you see the reveal of the brother in the mirror, which is, again, an awesome shot. But he just gives the whole plot line up until this point in, like, 3 seconds.
Yeah, yep. And, of course, you know, gets locked in the trunk with the dead body again.
The stiff.
What were they doing? Like, I feel like there's some continuity issues with this or something, because you see them at the beginning when the boys are still out on the beach putting something in their trunk, and then the dead body's in the freezer, and now he's in the trunk again.
I don't
and where were they going?
Right.
Just very confused. Maybe these are, like, more inept criminals than we realized.
Yeah, I don't know. I think just the dead bodies there is literally a prop to make them seem like scarier bad guys.
Yeah.
Like, they have no qualms killing somebody.
Sure, yeah.
That's all I got.
I could see that, yeah. I have a quote from Joey Pants talking about him and Robert Davi, like, pranking each other on set, or giving each other a hard time, however you want to say it. Joey Pants said, Davi was very proud that his parking spot was next to Spielberg's, so I stole his parking nameplate. Then he got even with me. I was lying down and I heard this banging. He had nailed my dressing room door shut. They had to come and pry my door open.
That's silly.
I just feel like that would take so much time to nail it shut that well. Were you just like sleeping through the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Maybe he's also a carpenter as well as an opera singer, and he just was quick with it.
He's a man of many talents.
Sure.
This scene with the pipes, where they're, you know, the kids are all messing with the pipes down below, and it's, like, causing havoc up in the real world on the surface.
Yes.
I feel like this is just tailor-made for a kid's movie, because it's so cartoony.
Yeah, it gives me Bugs Bunny feels.
Yes. This reverse pressure line that Corey Feldman yells out, Richard Donner said he couldn't get him to get the reaction that he wanted, so he told the cast to pretend that Michael Jackson was coming to set.
That scream is 1985 as well, so yeah.
It does.
It's just weird that that's how they got the shot. I don't know.
I don't know.
Reverse pressure. Michael Jackson. Like I don't get it. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's more to it. Like if we get this shot, you can go hang out with Michael.
No, I think he wanted big eyes. Like that was his way of doing big eyes.
Okay, got it.
This scene where Chunk is being interrogated by the family. First of all, my poor son thinking they're actually going to like blend up this kid's hand. And I was like, no, it's PG, don't worry. Not that that means anything to him either. But this is a quote from Jeff Cohen. I'm hazy if it was Davi or Joey Pants. I think it's Joey Pants actually at this point. But one of them, the way they got me to cry, because those are real tears, is they actually pulled the little hairs out of the bottom of my neck. It would make me cry and it was so scary. So that was my version of method acting.
Huh. I don't know if they do the same stuff now.
Right?
We just pull your hair out, kid.
Yes. The stuff he says, like when they say to confess everything and he starts, telling just like every bad thing he's done as a kid or whatever. The stuff about his sister Edie and his uncle's toupee were improvised lines, but they're real people in his life and real things that have happened.
He really was scared.
The part about throwing up was written in the script, but the rest of his like family members were real family members. And I read that Richard Donner had said the hardest part was keeping himself together during this scene. Like, apparently he was fine with everything Jeff Cohen was doing. He was, like, going with it. But he said, Jeff was brilliant, and I remember having to practically pass out by putting a handkerchief in my mouth and jamming it in so that I didn't break out laughing during every take and every scene and screwing it up for the actors. They just had me in hysterics. The brothers were magnificent. Bobby and Pants. They just call him Pants now.
Pants. Lost his first name.
Yep. Mama was phenomenal. I don't remember to this day what was written in the script and what Jeff just threw out that came up. He was that character.
Yeah. I mean, if someone's scary and pulling your little baby hairs off the back of your neck, I'd be scared too. And
yeah.
Just telling all the bad things I've done.
Yeah.
The part of his confession where I think it's at the movie theaters and he does like the fake barf noise and and then people start throwing up all over each other. Yeah. Stand By Me a little bit much here.
It was really hard not to think of Stand By Me. And again, I think it's because of, us talking about them both, the research, the boys all being friends in real life because of the movie. Like, yeah, it was hard not to make those connections.
Yeah.
So most of the Goonies, are down in the caves at this point. There's that bit when the big boulders start falling on them. Like they don't know what's happening at first and then they realize things are booby trapped. When Data falls, he doesn't say holy shit. He spells the word shit.
Yeah.
He did that because he had promised his mom he wouldn't swear in the movie. And so he just like did that, and Richard Donner was like, yeah, that's fine. That works. Because that's something a kid might do. I don't know.
Yeah, I think kids would do that. I feel like I remember kids doing that when I was a kid. Like, you swore, but you didn't swear, but you also took the very long way to do it.
Plausible deniability, I guess.
Yeah.
This scene with the bats, Steph has the best lines when she's like, God put that rock there for a purpose.
Yeah.
And you would think so, too, because at this point, like, some stuff has happened, right? They know there are, like, booby traps around. But I laugh so hard at her just literally yelling rabies over and over again.
Uh-huh.
Like, I would be grossed out if like all these bats were flying at me. Like it's too many bats, right? Like I don't care about them in general.
Sure.
But you're getting attacked by the bats. And then to have the wherewithal to just be like, rabies.
I mean, that is a concern, yeah.
I just don't think I would be able to even formulate words. I'm just...
That's fair.
As I'm being like pelted in the face with bats.
Well, yeah.
Just like everyone else is screaming and she's rabies. And then when they eventually get to the wishing well and Mouth thinks that Kennedy is Martin Sheen.
Well, he played him in a movie once.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Meanwhile, we're fighting rabies and finding lost coins. Chunk is still hanging out with the bad guys. And they were gonna blend his hand because they thought he was lying, but then he drops that little piece they found in the attic, that like skull piece or whatever. Or no, it was a doubloon. They found a doubloon.
Yes.
And Chunk had it, and like, oh my god, this is real, blah 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 blah. And like they kind of ignore Chunk, and he like drops to the floor, and he like steals a pint of ice cream. He's like, yes, and he's all excited. He's a big scoop, and then you don't see the bad guys. It's like a Muppet Baby situation where it's just like the knees down.
Yeah, Muppet Babies. That's great, but yes.
And he has his pint of ice cream and his spoon, and I think it's Bobby. And he like takes the pint, and Chunk's all sad, but he has this like about to take a big bite on his spoon, reaches down again and takes it. He gets so upset that he still hasn't had ice cream. Not that he almost had his hand blended up. Not that he's still a hostage and hanging out with dead people. And
fat kid jokes.
It worked. It was funny.
Okay, so after this is the scene where, like, when they realize they're in the well, they're talking to Troy up top. I always think, number one, it's so funny when the coin comes back up and he catches it.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how many takes that they had to do for that. I like that Andy sends his sweater back up. Like, obviously she decides to stay down there with the Goonies. It's so silly to me when he just yells, Andy, you Goonie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's such an insult, but that's okay.
Well, she's hanging out with the poor kids.
I know.
That's kind of what I got. Like, they have the convertible earlier, and Josh Brolin stole a child's bike because they flattened his tires. And I don't know. She chose to be on the other side of the tracks.
Yep.
And he's using it as an insult, and it's the kids, they all use it as a term of endearment, which is nice.
Yeah. This is when we start to see Chunk kind of like shut in with Sloth. So apparently John Matusak, who played Sloth, was in a lot of pain because they had been filming the part where he picks up Chunk, like chair and all. And then also the line that Chunk says, you smell like Fizz Ed. People think he says you smell like fish heads. And they talked about this being like this mistake people always make about the movie. I went back and watched it because I just like didn't pick up on it. I definitely hear Fizz Ed.
So do I.
Okay.
And my brain just makes it like he's locked up. He's probably all sweaty, not bathing. It probably just smells like old socks. Like, I don't know. It makes sense to me. Fish heads, I guess, would also make sense. Like, but like later when you're splashing around in water, but they don't do that until the kids discover the cave. So why would he smell like fish? I don't know.
The only thing I could think of is before the girls decide to join them, when they're like leaving and they step on the rake and there's like a dead fish on the rake.
Or something, yeah.
Something like that. I was like, I don't know, maybe there is dead fish lying around, because apparently there was. I don't know.
So going back to our 80s invention that doesn't need to happen, at least it makes sense to me in this scene. They have this key and they find a spot where they have little pegs on a board, and they're trying to line up the key to make it make sense to figure out One-Eye Willie's tricks. And I think they choose right, but also wrong. I don't know. His arm gets stuck, and we see, and I'm gonna like play off of you here, another Rube Goldberg machine, but like Booby Trap Pirate Edition. It's like a bowling ball-esque thing comes rolling down, and I guess if he doesn't get his hand out of there, it's probably gonna hurt him, but he ends up getting free. But now that you mentioned this Goldberg machine, I kept seeing it. Definitely this scene made me think of it, but booby traps in general, it's like, this elaborate way to do something that could be way easier.
Yeah, exactly. And also the way they set it up in the movie, like you see it coming, you know, you got to prepare yourself for something.
Yeah.
I love this little gremlin reference when Chunk eventually, the Sloth helps them get out, right? Because he suddenly is very strong and realizes Chunk is a friend and whatever. The Gremlins reference when he calls the cops. First of all, you always have to have a scene where the cops don't believe you. Or else, no movie. But the cop says something about, oh yeah, like when you called me recently about those little creatures that multiply when you throw water on them. I don't know if I've ever picked up on that before. But also, like you have said, we just talked about Gremlins.
Yeah.
So it's impossible not to this time.
Yeah, I feel like I don't think I picked up on that as a kid. I did not watch this nearly as much as I watched Gremlins, but I don't know if I would have made that connection even if I did. And again, this is they're not in the caves 100% of the time yet. It's I'm probably watching this in and out. I'm half paying attention, playing with action figures. I can totally see that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, the cops are talking. No one cares.
Well, right, because they're just gonna be like dumb kids and hang up. So
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. I think this scene where Andy has to play the notes on the piano is probably my favorite in the whole movie. I love a good gothic. I love Wuthering Heights. Everyone hates Wuthering Heights. Give me a good, like, weirdo gothic mansion story. And so I feel like this whole piano made of bones. I love this. Although it's so silly to me when that opening starts to open that looks kind of like just a plank. It's like, could they have not figured out a way to jump up there and just like scramble through?
Right.
I don't know. I always think this. But leading up to them finding the piano, isn't that when they're running away from the robbers or the criminals?
Yeah.
And they do slick shoes?
Yep.
Okay. First of all, there was a ska band when I was growing up named Slick Shoes. And I think it's so funny when I watch movies like this and I realize, like, oh, this is where these people got this band name. But no, it's like when I watch Spinal Tap and they say None More Black, I'm like, oh, that's why that band's called that. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, when they're all running away and the bullet ricochets off a rock, like right by Mikey, he says, Holy Mackenzie. And Mackenzie is his little brother.
Oh, really?
He has a little brother named Mackenzie, yes. And he had asked Richard Donner, like, oh, is that okay that I said that? He's like, I don't care. Like, just say whatever you would say if you were in this situation. Because, like, for Richard Donner, that's what made all of this work and made it a little easier to be like, don't necessarily worry about memorizing every little line, you know? But yeah, he dropped that in as, like, a reference to his little brother, who is also an actor.
Okay.
Mackenzie Aston.
I never thought anything of it. I just thought like there was some sort of 8-year-old 80s reference I don't remember. So like whatever.
Yeah.
Also, as an 8-year-old boy at one point, I think we just said random shit that didn't make sense either. So
yeah.
I could literally see me or my two best friends saying "Holy Mackenzie" for no reason at all. Not a reference to this movie. None of us have a brother named that. It just would something we would say randomly and probably hold on to for 5 years and then drop it.
Okay. This leads us, obviously, once they finish with the piano, do the epic water slide that, you know, Steven Spielberg apparently came up with. They see the pirate ship for the first time. Richard Donner wouldn't let any of them see the ship until they filmed this scene because he wanted to get their real reactions. Unfortunately, their real reactions involved too much swearing. So this is actually the second time they saw the pirate ship. They couldn't use the first take. The girl who played Andy, Carrie Green, said, they had us coming backward and said, when I say action, I want you to dip under the water, count to 3, and then come up. Of course, it was all, oh my fucking God, and holy shit. They turned the entire soundstage into a pool. It was enormous. So yeah, Richard Donner had the right idea, but they were a little too shocked. So what we see in the movie is the second take, according to him.
It's a good way to film it, though. It's a good idea. I like it.
Yeah, especially since like he was concerned about them having like proper reaction shots. So why not? Mm-hmm. I also read in multiple interviews that it was a real ship. Like you could really go like walk around on it and stuff. They had built it for the set. Richard Donner was like, yeah, we said like whoever wants to take the ship home can take it home, but no one wanted to, so we just dismantled it. Sir.
Right.
Who has room for this?
Nobody, obviously.
No one.
So, yeah. Let me just take it to my New York studio apartment, and we'll park it out back, cover up a whole city block. I'll pay all the parking fees. It's great.
Yeah.
They
could take the giant ship home, but no one would take it. Like, what is that?
Well, it should have just been put somewhere in it'd be too big for like a museum or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be too big for
Anything besides the open water.
Besides the open water, right?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of the ship, at one point Data falls through a part of it into the underbelly of the ship, and they go down there to see some of the treasure. But I love the line where he's like talking in third person. Data is sick of falling. Data is sick of skeletons.
Right? Yeah. I feel like Data has some of the best lines.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't even mention the booty trap exchange.
I was just going to do that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Booty trap. You mean boot trap? That's what I said.
Yeah.
You get that like a lot. Mm-hmm. But it works.
Mm-hmm. Apparently that came out of him really being corrected by one of the other kids, being like, no, you mean this. And he's like, yeah, that's what I said. So they like wrote it in.
Nice. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Eventually the bad guys show up, tie up the kids. Sloth and Chunk come to the rescue. Mm-hmm. And as they're all like jumping off the boat to get away from the bad guys, Steph like sucker punches Mama. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty cool.
So I am a little confused about like the big deal they make about Andy having to walk the plank. Maybe because her hands are tied, because like, obviously you can't like swim well. But then they all eventually just jump off the boat. So like, I don't know. I just thought that was bizarre, because especially when Chunk and Sloth swing in, they're like, Sloth, go save them. And he like swoops them off the plank. But then they all just jump off anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think it's her being bound and not being able to swim well and assuming she was going to drown.
Fair. Okay. Sloth wearing the Superman shirt, by the way, nod to Richard Donner having directed the first Superman movie. I forgot he was the one that got kicked off of Superman 2.
Oh.
He directed like some of Superman 2 and then got kicked off.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and of course, Sloth is watching that Douglas Fairbanks movie, in his room or whatever. We get like the mirror image of how Douglas Fairbanks enters the scene, with the knife going down the sail.
Not unlike in Gremlins, where Gizmo is watching the race movie, and then he is also in his little race car at the toy store.
Oh, yeah. Man, connections everywhere. Well, Steven Spielberg directed all these movies, so...
Yeah, he EP'd them, wrote them, directed them, edited them, made the music, did the props.
Yeah.
He acted in all these. This is, a little-known fact. It's before AI, which he also invented. And he actually did all this, and they just grafted the kid's face on them.
Oh my god. We had talked a little bit about them all playing pranks on each other and Richard Donner and whatnot. So Richard Donner had 2 different kinds of wetsuits he would wear because, like, probably had to get into the water for a lot of these shots, right? And one of them was, like, a legit wetsuit where you don't really have a lot of clothing under it, like it's really tight to your skin. And then one of them was more just like a loose covering, like if he was just gonna wade into the water a little bit. But apparently the kids would like sneak up behind him and cut slits into his wetsuits, which I don't know how he didn't even notice. They had to have done this like when it was hanging up or something, because what the heck. But yeah, he said he would get done with different shots and be like, why are my shoes full of water? Like, poor Richard Donner. I feel like at that point I would be like, well, I'm never having kids, so yeah.
My last kid movie.
Yeah, I volunteered at a Boy Scout day camp when I was a teenager, and it was like, I think I never want kids. And they're like, that's what all the teenagers say when they volunteer here. I'm like, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, they're horrible. And I have a boy. Joke's on me.
I kind of like I guess you can call it a one-sided conversation Mikey has with One Eye Willie. It's kind of sweet. Like, you said earlier how he wants to go on these adventures, and he kind of like is the leader of the group in a way, because he feels like the most level-headed, but also he's the most childlike in the same way, where he wants to keep his group of friends together. He wants to go on this last hurrah. He really believed in One Eye Willie when everyone, despite how far they've gone through the caves and all the trouble they went through, they still doubted the treasure would be there. They still doubted One Eye Willie existed. And he just has this like emotional moment, and then weep womp, everyone heard him. It's like, oh, joke's on you.
I know.
But then no one said anything. Everyone respected him. They're like, okay, Mikey's just being Mikey.
And relating to what you said about him, having this level of like understanding when he's talking to him. I like that he left the bit of treasure like that Willie had in front of him, that like the corpse of Willie had in front of him. But then also that turns out to be a real issue, because when the criminals come and take that, the stuff that's in front of Willie that's balancing the scales, that's what sets things in motion. So
yeah.
But yeah, I always feel bad for him when they're like, oh, we all heard you. Poor kid. I really like the ending scene where they all reunite with their parents. I always crack up at Andy just like really out of nowhere and also very urgently asking if she can take piano lessons.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're just like, okay, like, good to see you. I will say, watching it back this time, I don't know if I ever really picked up on Data's dad saying that Data is his favorite invention, like after one of his inventions doesn't work or something. And obviously now watching this as a parent, that gets me in the feels.
That was sweet.
Yeah. And I know at least Chunk's mom, they said, was the actor's real mom. They had said they filled in a lot of the parents and siblings with like the real family members because they were all just on set all the time, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anyone else specifically, but aside from Chunk.
Possibly Data's, because that was his
Possibly
sister.
Possibly Data's, yeah.
His mom was there cooking.
Right, yeah, probably.
And this is where we actually see Mike and Brandon's father, who did not run out or die like I thought he did.
Right, yeah.
And at first I didn't even know who he was. I'm like, who's this guy? It looks like Diet Stephen King. Like, what's going on here?
I actually thought he looked a little bit like John Hughes. Like like a white-haired John Hughes.
Okay.
It's all blurring together.
Yeah.
Maybe I just got so confused because he was, he had his cameo as one of the dads in Breakfast Club.
He just shows up randomly. I'm just going to be this guy's
to play
dad
a
now.
Dad. Yeah.
He couldn't have been this dad because he had like at least one line.
He had lines. Yeah. So there is a scene that got cut that involved an octopus. And we had discussed, like, the original script was really long. They had cut a lot of things. All I could find is an octopus that traps the kids at some point. This is why Data has that line where he says the scariest part was the octopus. And they just, forgot to cut it or whatever. There was also a song titled 8 Arms to Hold You that was going to be on the soundtrack.
Okay. So, clearly a ballad, right?
Thing. Yeah, right. What did you bring up before about the octopus?
The music video.
Oh, the music video, right. There you go.
They're on the ship. I think, so the music video is weird, not just because of the wrestlers, but when they get to the ship, which looks very much like the same ship, like it looks like they're doing a Goonies remake with Cyndi Lauper, but the cast is in the movie too. Everybody but I believe Andy, like all the kids, are all in it. They're wearing a shirt that says Goonies. Like everyone has a different letter, except for one of them has the double O, maybe because Andy's not there. Who knows? But they get all tied up on the ship and all this other stuff. And at one point, out of the water comes this giant purple-ish tentacle and wraps around Cyndi Lauper, and she's like trying to cut at it with a, pirate cutlass or whatnot. And I guess, maybe what Goonies cut out, Cyndi Lauper and company put in. I don't know.
I really need to go watch this.
Mm-hmm. You can see a lot of young actors badly lip syncing. It's great.
Nice.
Oh, and Roddy Piper does a good job too.
Okay.
We didn't talk about the bathroom scene, and then Mikey steals a kiss from Andy.
Correct. But the bathroom scene being like when they're messing with the pipes?
No, they are in the caves and they have to move on, and Mikey's encouraging them to move on. We got to take a bathroom break, and there's just these other offshoot of caves, and like dedicating one for women, one for boys, and then Josh Brolin goes to the men's bathroom, and all the kids follow him, which is odd. But yeah, the Mikey I don't know. Steph tells Andy to wait for Brand and close her eyes for her first kiss. It ends up being Mikey for some reason. I forget why. And she's like, he must have been standing in a hole. Also, I don't remember him wearing braces.
He must have been standing in a hole.
I was like, what the fuck? And then later when Bran dives off the boat and saves her, and they kiss again. She's like, weren't you wearing braces earlier?
Yeah.
And he's like, Mikey! Like, it's all put together as if we didn't already know.
Right, yeah.
And then they even talk about it later when they're all saved, and she's like, you're a good kisser. Or something like that. Like,
yeah.
It's weird.
I don't know if I would have acknowledged that any further.
Right. No, we did it 3 times.
So, Goonies had a $19 million budget. It grossed $125 million worldwide. So, much bigger hit than Lady Hawk. Sorry, Richard Donner. Critical reviews were mostly positive. I included this quote from Roger Ebert. It's a fantastical story of buried pirate treasure told with a slice-of-life approach that lets these kids use words Bogart didn't know in Casablanca. There used to be children's movies and adult movies. Now Spielberg has found an in-between niche.
That is probably the truest quote I've ever heard.
Yeah? I was, so conflicted about this because I don't know... I feel like so many of the movies we've been talking about from this time period are sort of this in-between where they're mostly kids movies, or you could argue that they're mostly kids movies, but then they have some darker elements or too much swearing or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like I was going to have to really go back and look more into things to decide if I was really going to agree with this or not, but...
Well, maybe not just this specific movie, but I feel like Spielberg specifically, as all the movies we've mentioned, whether he directed them or not, wink wink, I feel like he does that in between really well. Lady Hawk, I wouldn't say that's an in between movie. It's a fantastical adventure, sure, but it doesn't I feel like kids would be bored watching that.
Maybe
somehow I liked it when I was a kid. Apparently, that's why I threw it up there to be voted on. But yeah, it's not like this. It's also no kids in it, which definitely helps.
No, I agree that it's definitely an in-between thing. I guess I just wasn't thinking of this as the beginning of that.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't say that. I mean, this, Gremlins, even to some extent like a Poltergeist, things like Indiana Jones, where there's no real kids in it besides Data. But it's adventure and lighthearted enough to be for kids, but have adult themes that also... But yeah, I don't think this started it. I think maybe Ebert is kind of just commenting that Spielberg's really good at it. Again, something probably on the horizon, but speaking of pirate ships, Hook comes to mind as well as something that will be great as you see it as a kid, you see it as a teen, you see it as an adult.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, though, that Spielberg's getting the credit here, too, when technically it is Richard Donner's film.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. I think it was with Gremlins, we had talked about that was one of the first movies where they really got product marketing right, product tie-ins right, and that there wasn't a lot of that before Gremlins, apparently. So I have just a few products tied up in it. There was a video game released in 1985, another one in 1986 for Nintendo. And then in terms of lasting legacy, in 2007, there was a Flash-based online game released called The Goonies: Return to Astoria. In 2017, there was a Goonies level released for LEGO Dimensions. And then it seems like an actual LEGO set of the pirate ship was released in 2025.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that you're still a big part of pop culture when you get a Lego set released 40 years later.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Also in 2017, it was selected for preservation in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. They pick movies every year that they consider culturally, historically, or aesthetically important. I don't know if you heard, Clueless was added to the National Film Registry this year.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. In April 2020, the actor Josh Gad did a virtual cast reunion with all the living cast members. This was to fundraise during the pandemic. I'm not sure for what specifically, but Richard Donner, Steven Spielberg, and Chris Columbus were all there, and Cyndi Lauper made an appearance. They reunited again in December 2020 for a live reading of the script. I could not figure out if they just had Some celebrities fill in for people who couldn't be there or who had passed away, and then the rest was the original cast. But Josh Gad read for Sloth. Jean Smart read for Mama. Kristen Bell read for Irene Walsh, which I believe is Mikey and Brant's mom, I think, because they're the Walshes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Carrie Elways was the narrator.
Very nice.
Yep. The jail in the beginning of the movie, which we talked about, was the Real County Jail for a time. It is now the Oregon Film Museum, and it opened on the 25th anniversary of the Goonies release. They obviously have a lot of Goonie-related things in there. The Walsh House gets a lot of tourists. I read that in 2015, they started closing the road leading to the house. They talked about a long gravel road. I looked at the house in some of the scenes in the movie, and especially when the kids are all riding away on their bikes. The house is kind of on a hill, and there's a really long gravel driveway that goes sort of around and down. And so I feel like maybe they actually just put some sort of barrier at the bottom of the driveway. Okay. And that's what some of these articles were calling a road. But they have a sign out just like basically like, please don't drive up any further, which to be fair, if someone was like constantly coming up my driveway, yes.
Yeah.
That's a bit too close. But yeah, people go by and visit the house all the time. They'll go see the museum. And apparently a lot of films have been made in Astoria particularly. There was an interview with, I think, someone who was the mayor at some point who was like, oh, people are just like really comfortable being on film here. And I was like, I don't know if that's why.
That's weird, yeah. Yeah. So the jail is a museum. The house is still a house? Mm-hmm. It's not like a Christmas Story house? It's
like
people
a
who live
private
there.
Residence. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would suck, yeah.
Right?
Hope they took off the zip tie that connected their house with Data's house. Otherwise, they'd have a lot of fans dropping in, literally.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That would be so funny if it was like those neighbors decided to kind of cash in on it, turn it into like a museum or an Airbnb, and then they had to worry about that happening.
I'd be so pissed.
Mm-hmm.
So, with a movie of kind of this big feel and Spielberg's backing, how could there not be a Goonies sequel, right? Like, you figure that would have existed, or at least I did. Well, the possibility of a film sequel has been confirmed and denied many times over throughout the years by both the original cast and crew. Richard Donner said that he had a story that he really liked and also had Spielberg behind him. So, my mind, like, why didn't it happen? You got Spielberg saying do it. Mm-hmm. In 2004, several actors from the original movie revealed that Warner Brothers, who is the film's owner, has shown no interest in a sequel. Jump to October of 2007. Sean Astin told MTV that Goonies 2 is, quote, an absolute certainty. The writing's on the wall when they're releasing the DVD in such numbers. Okay. So, there clearly still interest in this movie, or at least the original one. Like, it's popular, and as we often joke, you know, Hollywood will, why not cash in on this, right?
Exactly, yes. Mm-hmm.
Richard Donner has expressed doubt the sequel will ever happen, as many of the actors have not shown interest in returning for one. This is still all in 2007.
So, I was curious about that because Jeff Cohen for sure is not interested in acting like ever again. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like, you know, Sean Astin seems ready for it.
Well, when you're Mikey, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Although he was also Sam, so he doesn't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sean Astin also said, my guess is it'll be rebooted and not sequelized. And that was his latest update at the time. Everyone's game to do whatever Steven wants and what Richard Donner wants, but right now, it's to be continued. Who knows? So, still up in the air. A lot of people just backstage murmurings. Sean
Astin giving such conflicting quotes here.
Yeah, everyone's going to do it. No one wants to do it. Who knows? Maybe Steve wants to do it. No one wants to do it. Yeah, it's 2007 at this point. You guys at least have each other's numbers for the past 30 years. Come on, get with it.
Right.
Randomly, November 25th of 2008, Corey Feldman stated on a blog post, quote, no, there is no Goonies 2. I'm sorry, but it's just not going to happen. Of course, now that I've said that, they'll do it.
Sure.
Sure, Feldman. Whatever, buddy.
Yeah. I feel like out of anyone involved here, like, I believe his takes the least, maybe.
July 2010 release of The Making of a Cult Classic, The Unauthorized Story of the Goonies on DVD. Richard Donner states a sequel to the Goonies is a, quote, definite thing, end quote, and will involve as much of the old cast as possible. Another quote is, it will happen. We've been trying for a number of years. Clearly. They've been trying for a number of years.
Yeah, and that was Richard Donner saying it's a definite thing now when he had just said, like, years ago, like, the cast isn't into it.
Yeah, it just seems like, I feel, not being a movie actor or director of any sorts, like, I'm assuming the confusion with if they want to do it or not is who's involved with what at what time, who's trying to maybe, God forbid, like, revitalize their career, some way. Spielberg and Aston don't really need it, but maybe Feldman and Donner do. Who knows?
Yeah, I could see that too. Like, it's just where people are in their careers as well. And should probably point out too that Richard Donner passed away in 2021. So not sure where we are with things now.
Well, let's go to the next page, Rachel.
Okay, sorry.
We've got more dates. They've been discussing Goonies for literally decades.
Oh gosh, okay.
Yeah. Now we're jumping to April of 2014. Richard Donner, who is still alive.
At this point,
yes. Revealed a sequel's in the works. I think he said this already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he hopes to bring back the entire cast. And as you pointed out, Cohen didn't want to act again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned they were close, so I'm kind of confused here. Again, more conflicting notes.
Yeah.
I don't know. 2020 reunion event. Spielberg states, Chris, Dick, and I, and Lauren
Schuler is Richard Donner's wife, who's the producer on Lady Hawk, yeah.
Yeah, and when they fell in love and made that awesome / horrible music. Yeah. They've had a lot of conversations about a sequel. Every couple of years it comes up with an idea, but then it doesn't hold water. Obviously. I mean...
Right.
My quotes go all the way back to 2004, and now this is 2020. So that's insane.
Yeah.
May 2021, Corey Feldman stated that despite Columbus saying that he is writing a sequel, the chances for a sequel are reported to be, quote, dead, as Donner had chosen to direct Lethal Finale as his final film, while the cast originally refused to return without Donner's involvement. But then, as you mentioned,
Feldman's so negative.
Right. And then, as you mentioned, Richard Donner passes away passed away in 2021.
Yes.
So, if they're saying no one's going to do it without him, it seems like it's not going to happen now.
Right.
However, the beat goes on. January of 2025, Deadline reported that Warner Brothers was developing a sequel to The Goonies and were waiting on a treatment from writer Chris Columbus. February that same year, so last year, it was announced that Goonies 2 was officially in the works. Ponzi Pansaroli is set to write the script with Steven Spielberg, Christy McCaskill-Krieger, and Holly Barrio, producing for Amblin Entertainment alongside Chris Columbus. And then Lauren Schuler Donner are executive producers. Producing for Amblin Entertainment alongside Chris Columbus. Lauren Schuler Donner is executive producing. It seems like Goonies 2 is happening as far as February last year. This is about the same time they also announced Chris Columbus was writing a sequel to Gremlins. Or at least the rumor was, and then it was announced in November of last year.
So if it really is happening this time, this feels like such an odd choice to me, considering obviously Richard Donner has passed now, so he won't be there to direct, and then Chris Columbus is not writing it. I understand he's still involved. I understand Lauren Schuler, Richard Donner's widow, is involved, and they ran a production company together. She knows what she's doing in terms of filmmaking. But it's so odd to me when they wait this long and then some key players literally are not involved or just not alive anymore. And then, like
Right.
we said, Chunk had said he's like never acting again. I don't know. I always compare it to the Hocus Pocus sequel where there was obviously an audience for it because that movie had grown in popularity so much since being released. You
Right.
still have the main cast. I don't know. I don't know what I would expect from something like this because it feels like there are just so many parts missing.
So many parts missing, and it just seemed like a seesaw effect. Will they, won't they? Who is still around
Hmm.
that wants to take part in it? Because it seems like that's also up in the air, depending on what year I read a quote from.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, Corey Feldman seems like not into this, but at the same time, they're obviously not kids anymore, so then you have to work with that aspect of it. That's why I could see some of them saying there wouldn't be a sequel, it'd probably just be a reboot or something,
Mm-hmm.
or it would be, their characters' kids, so it wouldn't even be
That's
the
what I was
same
thinking. Yeah.
cast, which is understandable at this point. I guess when it's this far removed and so many parts are missing, it's sometimes I feel like, well, what's the point now?
Mm-hmm.
It's how we got 6 Home Alone sequels. Like, what's the point anymore? It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe it'll happen. We don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows.
I mean, we'll see when something is actually released. That's when
Yeah.
I'll.
As of February last year, it seems to be a go, but I didn't find any like hard evidence. Just quotes that it's we're all gonna like it and do it, but nothing from actors, just the script people.
Which makes me wonder if the original cast is even really involved.
Yeah.
So to wrap this up, I had a little where are they now because it's funny to me how successful all these people ended up being for the most part. Also, so many Nepo babies, for lack of a better term. Joey Pants mentioned that he used to go running with Carrie Green all the time, who played Andy while they were filming. They just had that in common. And he said they're still in touch, but now they go on walks together because he is too old. And I
That's
just thought that
sweet.
was a really fun little story.
Yeah.
Carrie Green hasn't really acted much beyond 80s teen movies, though. She's probably the one who really doesn't have much of an acting career now, aside from
Besides
Chunk, who
Chunk.
walked away from it, yeah.
Got it.
Martha Plimpton, who played Steph, went on to have a very successful acting career, mainly in television and Broadway. And it's funny because I've seen her name, I've heard her name. I did not put together that this was her as a teenager. Her dad is Keith Carradine, the actor. I had no
No.
idea.
No.
She also was in a serious relationship with River Phoenix for a while, starting in 1986.
Okay.
And basically, that relationship ended because of his addictions, and he passed shortly after they broke up.
Yeah.
But another Stand By Me connection.
Yeah.
Obviously, Corey Feldman went on to have a pretty big 80s career. We discuss more of his life and his career in our episode about Stand By Me, so I'm not going to get into his stuff as much. I think we all kind of know what happened to Corey Feldman, though.
Yeah.
Sean Astin, obviously, we mentioned, went on to be in Lord of the Rings. Also, other big roles like Rudy, which I just always think of Lord of the Rings. This man, apparently, to me, he was in the Goonies and then was in Lord of the Rings in like the end. His
Today's
mom
audience, he was also Bob in Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah, of course. His mom is Patty Duke, which I always forget. Like, I always remember in the back of my head that he has a famous mom, but his mom is Patty Duke, the actress. And his brother Mackenzie is an actor as well, which we have mentioned. Again, if anyone watches The Pit, he was in the first season of The Pit. That was probably the most, like, recent thing his brother has been in. Josh Brolin obviously went on to have a very big career. Thanos in the Avengers. He was also nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for the movie Milk. And his dad is the actor James Brolin. Barbra Streisand used to be a stepmom.
Oh.
Ki Hye Kwan is also an Oscar winner now. Won Best Supporting Actor for Everything Everywhere All at Once a couple years ago. famously revived his career. Like, I know he gave a lot of interviews at the time saying he really couldn't get any work after this and Indiana Jones. Like, there just wasn't a place for him. I feel like specifically he was talking about as an Asian American actor. Apparently, in his movie Love Hurts, which came out in 2025, Sean Astin has a role. And I didn't realize this. I've seen the trailers for Love Hurts. I haven't seen the movie. He said, "The day Sean arrived on set, I dropped everything and ran to give him a big hug. We're brothers for life because of that movie. When we finally shot our first scene together, I was transported back to 1985. All the cameras and everyone around us disappeared. It was just me and him. I was that kid again, remembering that exchange. Hey, Data, where are you going? I'm setting booty traps. You mean booby traps? To share the screen with him again after all these years is an amazing gift." Jeff Cohen, who played Chunk, we said he had stayed very close with Richard Donner. Richard Donner and his wife, Lauren Schuler, really took him under their wing. He is a very successful entertainment lawyer now. He has his own firm. I have a quote from him saying, "As a human being, Dick was so kind to me. I'm an entertainment attorney and I have a firm out here in Los Angeles. None of that would have happened for me without Dick Donner helping me when there was nothing I could do for him. To me, that's a unique thing in our business. Dick Donner and Lauren Schuler Donner, because they were kind, paid for my college, and then I went to Berkeley." So yeah, he did in fact pay for Jeff Cohen's college. He also apparently gave him random jobs on his film sets, mainly as a production assistant when Jeff was like a teenager and post-college, when he just was struggling to find a job. I mean, obviously he went to law school too. He probably couldn't work like a full-time job going to law school at the same time. So he worked on Richard Donner's sets.
So interesting to me, where like out of all the kids, it's the one that doesn't do acting that they kind of connected with the most.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious about like the rest of his home life. I mean,
yeah,
this is like a surrogate father figure.
Yes, I was curious about that too. I don't know if it was maybe just a situation where, you know, he came from like a regular family and just happened to get into acting, and it's not like they had a ton of money.
Sure.
And maybe that's where, you know, him paying for college comes in. But yeah, it felt to me a little bit like, who was the actor who was talking about like being really close with, it was Anthony Michael Hall. He was really close with John Hughes for a time, but that was because he said like he didn't love his home life at the time.
Yeah.
And he kind of sought refuge at John Hughes's house. I don't feel like this was that kind of a situation, but it is very interesting, yeah, that this was that Richard Donner and his wife became like his surrogate parents.
Yeah.
Oh, so did the Goonies hold up for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What's not to like? It's a fun adventure film. The jokes still land, I think. Yep. I laughed. The performances are all great. Mm-hmm. The set, the pirate ship, like, I always remember loving the piano scene and the pirate ship reveal, and that didn't change in 40 years. Yeah,
I still think it's a lot of fun. It's obviously from the 80s, but not so 80s that it didn't age well. It's still agree. So relatable just to have these kids running around and like going on an adventure. And I said before, it was really fun seeing my kid watch it for the first time and get so into it.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on the Goonies, as well as your own favorite films from 1985. You can find us on Instagram at Back Through the Lens Pod and on Facebook at Back Through the Lens. You can also email us at backthroughthelenspodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to support our show.
If you enjoyed our show today, please give us a like and follow for updates on new and future episodes. Our show is produced by our host, Rachel Campbell, and myself, Joe Siomek, with additional help and support from Peter Telep of LPV Productions. Peter, Rachel, and I are also the executive producers. Our awesome logo is brought to you by Tom Faraci, and our wonderful theme song is by Matt Tarek. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more trips into our movie-watching past on Back Through the Lens. I'll straight up eat Casada cake on camera if we get some sort of like Corbo's sponsorship. I'd be truffle shuffling all the way to the gym. Anyway.
Okay.